Hi poets, here we are at the beginning of week 7 when we will be workshopping as a whole class, and you'll be working on revisions and also just talking about the process of expanding your work, figuring out what you want to do in the future and how to help and support one another to keep going with the art of poetry well into the future. So to that end, I wanted to show you one of my favorite anthologies. This is From Totems to Hip Hop, edited by Ishmael Reed, Bay Area poet and fiction writer and critic. And it's a really diverse, multicultural anthology. It says a multicultural anthology of poetry across the Americas, 1900 to 2002. So lots of different voices and styles and subject matters. My dog's chewing on my nightgown back here. Jimmy. So I do recommend it. The introduction written by Ishmael Reed is really beautiful. It talks about just how diverse poetry really is, and how many poets of color and of different, outside the mainstream have been excluded from the canon, and it's an inclusive, big anthology. And at the end, I love it because it has several manifestos. It has a whole section of poetry manifestos. And I wanted to read one to you in its entirety, which is the Imagists Manifesto, which was written by Amy Lowell in 1915. This is Amy Lowell's The Imagists Manifesto, 1915, and there's 6 points to this manifesto. Number 1, to use the language of common speech, but to employ always the exact word, not the nearly exact, nor the merely decorative word. Remember, this is more than 100 years ago. So, number 2, to create new rhythms as the expression of new moods, and not to copy old rhythms which merely echo old moods. We do not insist upon free verse as the only method of writing poetry. We fight for it as a principle of liberty. We believe that the individuality of a poet may often be better expressed in free verse than in conventional forms. In poetry, a new cadence means a new idea. And number 3, to allow absolute freedom in the choice of subject. It is not good art to write badly about airplanes and automobiles, nor is it necessarily bad art to write well about the past. We believe passionately in the artistic value of modern life, but we wish to point out that there is nothing so uninspiring nor so old-fashioned as an airplane of the year 1911. Number 4, to present an image, hence the name Imagist. We are not a school of painters, but we believe that poetry should render particulars exactly and not deal in vague generalities, however magnificent and sonorous. It is for this reason that we oppose the cosmic poet, who seems to shirk the real difficulties of his art. Number 5, to produce poetry that is hard and clear, never blurred nor indefinite. And number 6, finally, most of us believe that concentration is of the very essence of poetry. Finally, most of us believe that concentration is of the very essence of poetry. I think that might be a little typo. Concentration is the very essence of poetry. Perhaps. I don't know. Anyway, From Totems to Hip Hop, edited by Ishmael Reed. I recommend it, just for expanding your reading. And to end my short video this time around tonight, I am going to read a delightful poem by Mark Strand entitled Eating Poetry. Eating Poetry. Ink runs from the corners of my mouth. There is no happiness like mine. I have been eating poetry. The librarian does not believe what she sees. Her eyes are sad, and she walks with her hands in her dress. The poems are gone. The light is dim. The dogs are on the basement stairs and coming up. Their eyeballs roll, their blonde legs burn like brush. The poor librarian begins to stamp her feet and weep. She does not understand. When I get on my knees and lick her hand, she screams. I am a new man. I snarl at her and bark. I romp with joy in the bookish dark. All right. That's it. I'll see you Tuesday in the Zoom. And keep up the great work, and I look forward to the workshop weeks with you. Let me know if you have any questions. Don't hesitate.